The Oval Office, February 28, 2025, a meeting of supposed allies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, weary but determined, stood before US President Donald Trump. The topic at hand, a critical minerals deal, vital for both nations. On the surface, a routine diplomatic affair, but the tension in the air was palpable. This was no ordinary meeting. The air crackled with unspoken animosity. The shadow of a years-long war loomed large. Zelensky, a man forged in the fires of conflict, had come seeking support, not a confrontation. The discussion began cordially enough, but the veneer of civility soon shattered. Trump, flanked by Vice President Vance, unleashed a tirade against Zelensky. Their accusations, a lack of gratitude, a failure to toe the line. "You're not acting at all thankful," Trump reportedly spat, his voice dripping with disdain. Vance, echoing his master's voice, chimed in with a lecture on Russian diplomacy. It was a surreal spectacle. A president whose country was bleeding under a brutal invasion, being chastised for insufficient appreciation. Zelensky, however, refused to be cowed. He had not traversed the world to be berated like a schoolboy. "I'm not playing cards here!" he shot back, his voice laced with controlled anger. The man who had stared down Putin's war machine wasn't about to back down from a verbal assault. In subsequent interviews, Zelensky remained defiant. He owed Trump no apologies. The gratitude demanded was misplaced. The cost of freedom, he reminded the world, was not measured in dollars, but in the blood of his people. The audacity of Trump's demand was astounding. To demand gratitude while Ukrainian cities were being bombed, while mothers wept over their children's graves, was not just tone-deaf, it was morally repugnant. Zelensky had come seeking partnership, not patronage. He sought weapons, not platitudes. His people were fighting not just for Ukraine, but for the very principles of democracy that America claimed to champion. Section 5, the human cost of war. In the aftermath of the Oval Office clash, Zelensky spoke with raw emotion about the human cost of the war. Millions displaced, thousands dead, cities reduced to rubble. This was the reality Trump seemed oblivious to. Every day, Zelensky stated, his voice heavy with grief, "We are losing our sons and daughters." These were not mere statistics. These were human beings fighting and dying for their right to exist. Section 6. A fractured alliance. The Oval Office debacle sent shockwaves across the globe. The fragile alliance between the United States and Ukraine, already strained, seemed on the verge of collapse. European leaders expressed their dismay. The incident threatened to undermine NATO's already fractured unity. The Kremlin, no doubt, watched with glee as the seeds of discord were sown. Section 7. American discord. Back in the United States, the reaction was predictably divided. Trump's supporters cheered his tough stance. Critics decried his callousness. The Republican Party, as usual, seemed more concerned with scoring political points than with standing up for democratic values. The incident highlighted the dangerous erosion of empathy and understanding within American society. The plight of the Ukrainian people seemed a distant concern, overshadowed by domestic squabbles and political posturing. Section 8, Ukrainian Defiance. In Ukraine, the response was one of anger and defiance. Citizens took to the streets waving Ukrainian flags and chanting anti-Trump slogans. Soldiers on the front lines vowed to fight on with or without American support. The message was clear. Ukraine would not be bullied, they would not be patronized. They would determine their own destiny. Section 9. An uncertain future. As the dust settles on the Oval Office showdown, the future remains uncertain. The incident has undoubtedly damaged US-Ukraine relations. Whether the rift can be repaired remains to be seen. One thing is clear, the stakes are incredibly high. The fate of Ukraine, and indeed the future of European security, hangs in the balance. The world watches, holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next.